Mr. Kip Sorensen, what's up, my friend? Good to see you again.
Good to see you, man. Looks like you had a great weekend from the Instagram.
Yeah. I actually tuned out for the entire weekend. I was going to do podcasts and post pictures and
Be productive,
stay in touch with everybody. Yeah. And instead, I decided I wasn't going to do any of that nonsense. And I was just going to be present because my oldest son actually came. So this is my fourth Winter Strong. And my oldest son, Brecken, actually came with me. So it was cool because he was able to meet everybody. And I just wanted to be present. You know, that's so hard to do anymore. It shouldn't be. It's kind of embarrassing that it is, but you know, it is what it is. So we made it happen.
Yeah. Looks like it was a great event. Good turnout too.
Oh, it's fun. Yeah, it's a killer event. We always have a good time. Some of the best people on the planet there. A lot of them come from the strength and training world. And so they're NFL players, professional athletes, Olympians. We had 2 Medal of Honor recipients there. Kyle Carpenter, who's a friend of mine. And then I can't remember the other gentleman's name. They're actually both from the same town, interestingly enough. And they're both really young Medal of Honor recipients.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Archers. I mean, it's just, you just have no idea who you're sitting next to. A group like that. Like you could be talking,
but there
with
are
somebody
people
and just think,
that get after it, right? There are people that are just about
100%.
Something. Yeah.
100%. Every single one of them is an incredible human being. So it was good. It was really good.
Yeah. That's cool. Asia and I did push-ups with Ray on Saturday morning.
Oh,
I didn't know. Yeah. Like I just got done working out chest, by the way. I ended up finished chest. And then, you know, Instagram's like Ray's live. And I'm like, what's this stuff? And he's just doing push-ups, like 100 rounds of push-ups. Like, it's just crazy.
I think he does 20 every minute on the minute for like hours until he hits 1,000, whatever it is.
Yeah. It's like unreal. And then he's like, oh, join me for a set of 22, you know? So I'm like, nah,
that's what it is.
He's just like, I want to join. I'm like, okay, we'll do some push-ups with Ray. And then he immediately
just smoke you. She smoked you.
You know what? It doesn't matter. You know, I had chest day. I already gave a precursor of why she could have smoked me.
You just got why I brought it up. Well, good, man. All right. Funny. Well, let's get into some, Ray's awesome. He does some good stuff. Yeah, let's get into some questions today.
Yeah, for sure. So we're fielding questions from the Facebook group. To join us, go to facebook.com/group/orderman. Our first question, Chance Pitts, any news on the Spartan death race opportunity? I know Joe mentioned it on the podcast, but I haven't heard anything else about it.
Yeah, and I haven't followed up on it, admittedly. My schedule this year is so intense, and I'm really not interested in adding a bunch. So here's what I did different relative to what I've done in years past. I have somebody on my team who helps me out with podcast planning, securing guests, which is why we've had so many incredible guests lately. And then she helps me with my logistics and scheduling and just like higher level stuff. And we actually sat down about a month or so ago and planned out the entire year, 2022. So now I know that's subject to change as different events come up or something gets canceled or something gets moved around, but we've got it all laid out and I've never had anything like that before. So I'm going through my schedule and I'm looking at it every, 2 to 3 weeks. I'm traveling. I'm going from different place to place. I have different events going on. So yeah, adding something else into the mix is probably just not going to happen. That's just the reality of it. Because look, here's the deal, guys. When you say yes to something like it's Spartan death race or any number of things you could, immediately you're disqualifying a lot of other things. And for me, being home with my family in between events and things like that is very, very important. And I'm just not willing to negotiate much more with now, look, that's not to say I'm not open to opportunities that will present themselves either. If there are opportunities that are going to do one of two things, they're going to help me and my family or directly, or they're going to move my business along exponentially, then I will be open to those things. Yeah. Like if Joe Rogan, cause he's all over the news right now. If he called and said, hey, Ryan, I need to do a podcast this Sunday with you, in the next 3 or 4 days, like I'm going to make that happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
totally.
we have our calendar built out, but I'm flexible. And then I weigh opportunities against my battle plan. And then I can make the correct call as to whether it's a yes or a no.
Yeah. It's so powerful. And I think there's so many times that we even do good things and we never pause and say, what's the price of this? What's the cost of this? And to always evaluate, is it worth the cost? Because we could do great things, but the cost is greater. It really is, right? You could be out focused on service of other individuals and putting your family as a lower priority sometimes. And maybe you shouldn't. So, and sometimes you should, right? So, but I don't know. I'm just regurgitating the same thing you said in a different way. It's just being aware of the cost is so valuable.
Well, I see it personally in my own life and here's something a lot of guys struggle with because they want to take care of themselves, right?
Yeah.
But they feel guilty because they do it. So the areas for me personally are jujitsu and hunting. I always feel guilty to some degree, not so much anymore because I built some things in place. I'll explain in a minute, but I feel guilty about leaving for 5 days to go hunting. My family's not with me. I feel guilty when I go train at night and I know the family's at home. Or I go in the morning before they wake up and they wake up and I'm not there. I feel guilty about that, but we've done a lot of things to put those in place. But again, this is what you're saying is that those two activities are healthy and they're good for me. They're going to help me be a better man in general, which is going to translate into being a better husband and a better father. But still, there's a level of guilt there. And you can certainly take those things way too far.
Sure.
Where, yeah, maybe you ought to feel guilty for doing that because you're neglecting your other responsibilities that you have.
For sure. John Golden, tribalization and cliques. I get being with people that have shared interests, but I also feel like not associating with different types of people and seeing different viewpoints and experiences really hampers spiritual and social growth. What are your thoughts? Is limiting yourself to a small circle of acquaintances harmful for growth?
It could be either, in a lot of ways. So let me tell you
why, what he's saying. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. But let me tell you why it's a good thing first. And this goes into the question we just answered. If I have a huge circle of people that I want to stay in touch with and be connected and close with, then I'm going to get very surface level interactions with those individuals merely because I don't have the time to do that.
Yeah. It has to be superficial. You can't pull it off. Yeah.
But if I have 5 friends, if you called and you needed help or I needed to visit with you or whatever, like I'd be able to do that because I can go deep into that relationship because I don't have 50. I have 5 people like that.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's levels, and it sounds a little weird, but there's people in my life who are at the most connected, intimate level. Right. And then there's other people who are, they're friends, but we're not like super close. Like we don't talk to each other every couple of days or every week. And then there's acquaintances. And then there might be people who just casually I know of, or they know of me. And so it seems like it shouldn't be that way. And it almost feels like you're categorizing people by their worth. It's not that, but it really does have to be done. Like you can't give equal amount of time and attention to everybody. So I like having a very close core group of, 5 to 6 to 7 individuals who I'm very close with. And those others, it's just a different relationship. That's all.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is, right, you're all going to think alike. You're going to start acting the same. You're going to talk the same. You're going to be interested in the same subjects. And so it is a bit of an echo chamber, which is not entirely bad, by the way, because echo chamber has a negative connotation to it, but it's actually not bad because what it does. So here, let me give you an example. The Iron Council, which is our digital exclusive brotherhood, about 1,100 guys in there or so. And you could say, well, that's an echo chamber, right? By design. It's supposed to be like that because what that does is that elevates all of us. And if somebody's not pulling their weight, people are going to say, hey, look, this is the system. This is what we do. These are the numbers you have to hit. Here's the commitments you have to make. And it's the echo chamber that keeps guys from slipping into the path of least resistance. It elevates who they are and how they show up. Where it gets into an issue is if you're not introducing new concepts, new ideas, new perspectives, new ways of looking at things. That said, there needs to be some foundational piece of the puzzle that you can build the relationship on. So I can have a relationship with somebody from India, for example, as long as he's striving to be a good man and I'm striving to be a good man, and there's a foundational belief system that we can work on. And then now that we have the foundation, I can learn from him how to shore up the building, that what I'm trying to create, and he can learn from me what I'm trying to create. But if there isn't that base level, that foundational level of mutual understanding, like, diversity is not power in and of itself. It's not inherently strength. People say that diversity is strength. No, it's not.
No, it's
because
not.
Kip, if I say
it's lack of alignment
is the
cases.
only way to do this, and you say XYZ is the only way to do this, well, there's some diversity in that. But now we're just butting heads and nothing ever gets accomplished. Diversity can be powerful. It's not power inherently. It can be powerful. It can be strengthening when your mission is aligned. And if the mission is an alignment, and now we're looking at different ways of doing things, okay, then it's powerful. This happens in the military. There's a big push in the military right now to be diverse. And you're going to hear all these cute little buzzwords, and they've come up with a bunch of little cute videos about how diversity is so good and it makes us better. I don't care. All I care about is the lethality of our military fighting force. Mission. That's all I care about. I want to know that our military can have a clear objective, has the tools and resources and training and skill set required to address the threat or whatever it is they're dealing with. If diversity helps do that, great. But you haven't proved to me that that's the case. What these little commercials are doing is they're saying diversity in and of itself is the goal. No, it's only good in as much as it moves us towards the goal. And you haven't proven to me, in the military anyways, that having women, for example, more diverse, actually makes our military fighting force more effective. Oh, well, we're diverse. Yeah, but show me how that makes us more effective. Oh, well, it's because we're all included. Okay, good. But show me how that makes us more effective.
Yeah,
it's
how that completes
logic.
The mission more successfully. Yeah.
Right. The mission is not to have women in the military or white people or black people in the military. That's not the mission. The mission is to accomplish whatever that mission, objective, target, enemy in front of us is.
Yeah. And on the business side, I can't help but make the correlation here, right? So at work, when we talk about establishing a company culture, what's required? Establishing the mission and the why, the existence of the organization, common attitudes, shared beliefs, and guiding principles by which all members should be aligned. Now, once that alignment's in place, back to your point, diversity, different viewpoints, excellent. Misalignment on guiding principles and attitudes, problem. Period.
Yeah, I guess the best way to round that thought out is diversity in strategy can be powerful, but diversity in objectives is sometimes, most often, problematic.
Yeah. And I love your distinction on the mission. What's the mission? Does an organization or the military exist for the sake of making people feel good? Or is the mission actually to be a fighting force that's highly effective? If that's the case, then it's out of alignment, right? And as much as that might pander or make certain people feel good, trust me, there's a negative feel good on the flip side of, wait a second, where there's misalignment occurring, right? This happens in companies too. You say, these are our guiding principles. You say, these are our core attitudes, and this is why we exist as an org. And then you act against it by hiring individuals that's not aligned. Trust me, it's going to affect your culture in a negative way. It's going to affect the military in a negative way, in other organizations or groups, even within our own council. Imagine if we did that in the IC, it would be toxic.
Yeah. Well, a great example in the Iron Council is we have Ron Inman who does our monthly topics. So Ron and I we would not approach that the same. The way that I would do a monthly assignment is
Yeah.
completely different than the way he does it. But you know what? I don't
Yeah.
doubt that he cares about what we're doing,
And
that
it's
his
aligned.
purpose
Yeah.
is in alignment with what we're trying to accomplish, and
Totally.
that he's going in the same direction. And now I think, okay, well, I know he's going in the same direction. I don't always see eye to eye with him or agree with the way he might do an assignment, but I actually yield to that to some degree. You know, I offer my input and whatnot. It's my organization ultimately, but I do yield to that to some degree because I know our purposes are in alignment, and he brings something to the table that I cannot bring myself. So I might see something and be like, I don't totally agree with that. And he might make a case for it. And I'm like, cool, try it, because I don't know. Like, that's not my personality. And so it's better that way. That's a great example of how diversity in strategy or in personality can work effectively.
All right, James Percival. Ryan, after the Brian Callen episode, which was such a great show, by the way, how close are you to recording with Rogan? Personally, I feel like the young Jedi is ready. And by young, I mean 40-year-old Jedi.
Almost 41
Is he
now.
calling
Holy
you a
cow.
Jedi? And the guy with the last name Percival, like, that's like a Harry Potter, Harry Potter family, and he's referencing Star Wars. James, you're like uber dork. So anyhow, go ahead.
Who are you calling an Uber dork? I don't know what Percival and Harry Potter are. Like, you're the one that knows all the names, apparently.
But there's people listening that are like, yep, that's funny. Maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. Anyhow, young Jedi.
Well, you geeks can get together and create your own little echo chamber on Harry Potter and Star Wars. I don't know. I don't know how close I am. So I don't. I mean, I would like it to happen. You know, I would love to record a podcast with him, this week, especially this week. If I'm ever going to record with Joe Rogan, like, this is the week to do it because of all the fire he's in right now. Which, is both obnoxious, but also interesting. Yeah. Every post I see on Instagram or Twitter is, I stand with Joe Rogan. I hate Joe Rogan. It's like, okay, well, like, how about this? Listen to Rogan or don't. Listen to Spotify or don't. And just that be the end of it. And the minute that you start trying to force or blackmail or give some sort of ultimatum or censorship, okay, that only makes me want to listen more.
Totally.
So just knock it off. Like, if you don't want to listen to Rogan because you think misinformate, like, just don't listen. Or tell your friends not to. I don't care. That's the beauty of free speech. Like, just stop listening.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to the question. Yeah, I would love it. I feel like I'm dancing around the fringes a little bit. Brian Callen's been on, obviously. And I've got a lot of other friends, personal friends of mine, who we met via the podcast, who have been on Rogan and know him personally. But also, like, I don't need to push. Like, I'm going to swing. I'm going to take my at-bats, but I don't need to push because I'm finding value in what we're doing. There's a handful of people I would love to have on a podcast or visit on theirs. Joe Rogan's one. Jordan Peterson is one. Mike Rowe is somebody I've been interested in having on the podcast for a very long time. And, for whatever reason, it hasn't worked out, but it's not because we haven't tried. Know that. But it just hasn't worked out. And if it's going to work out, we're going to put in our effort and then just let the chips fall where they may. So I imagine that at some point in the not too distant future, it will happen. But that's not going to change anything about what we're doing either. Right. Like, it's not going to change how hard I go. It's not going to change what our schedule looks like. It's not going to change my podcasting schedule. Like,
you're driving forward
on the
regardless.
track. Yeah. Yep. And if it happens, cool. And if it doesn't, that's cool too. There was actually some really good presentations this weekend with Winter Strong at Sorenex. And it was kind of revolved around that. Like, hey, just do the work. Like, just put in the work, put in the effort, be diligent, be smart, be strategic, make good choices. Don't make bad choices. Yeah. And then just let the externals take care of themselves.
I was driving home from visiting my dad yesterday, and I literally, like, I was just, you know how it is sometimes when you're driving and thoughts, you know, enter your mind, and this thought entered my mind of like, sometimes the answer is not a better boss, a different job, more money, opportunity. Sometimes the answer is just get to work. Sometimes
Yeah,
the answer is just
always.
take advantage of the opportunity that you have in your lap right now and just work hard and be present. And all that other stuff will actually just kind of work itself out, you know. But far too often it's like, oh, I need these breaks, Ryan. I need cash. I need these other things. And we're worried. And then yet the opportunity sitting in our lap just gets passed by.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know there's one thing about my personality, and I think it is a personality where I will, I will do something that I'm proud of, or something externally will happen that I'm excited about.
Yeah.
And I celebrate for literally 12 seconds. And then I'm like, what's next? You know,
Yeah.
like the book is a great example. Last week, I finished up the first manuscript, the first draft of the book, submitted it. And my wife's like, are you so excited? I'm like, no, like not. I mean, like, it's cool, but like now I know what needs to be done next. And she's like, well, it's going to be a great book. And, you know, she's always been a
Yeah.
great supporter of what
Super
we're doing.
supportive. Yeah.
Totally. And I said, well, yeah, but like it's done now, so I don't know what to do next. And she's like, well, you're not writing another book. I'm like, why? And she's like, because you hate the book writing process. And
Yeah.
this was last week. I said, actually, I already have another book idea. She's like, are you serious? Well, yeah, I
That's
do. Like I've
funny.
been thinking about it, and it might be 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Who knows?
Yeah.
And maybe, like I said, maybe that's just a personality thing, but it's always like, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next?
Yeah.
But it's always focused on what I can do. Like, okay, now that book's done. Now what do I do? Now what do I do? Now what I do? And I don't have any desire even to just stop and reflect on how wonderful things may have been that it happened in the past. Like, it's just not an issue, but it
Yeah.
can be taken to the extreme.
Yeah. I was going to say, does your wife criticize you for? Aisha criticizes me for this. She's just like,
Yeah.
celebrate, like,
Yeah.
enjoy it, you know, like she sees it as me being so negative, right? It's like, oh, congratulate, this is so awesome. And I'll be like, nah, you know, next, you know what I mean? And she sees it as me not embracing it and enjoying it and being negative, when in reality, you know, there's some pride, but you know what I mean? I do the same thing.
Well, I was thinking about this because the other day you had sent me the video from your black belt promotion. How many black belts did you have that got promoted?
I think there was 7 or 8 of us.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought. I was going to say about 10,
Yeah.
but regardless, I saw it and I was thinking, you know, Kip, correct me if I'm wrong, but here's what I was thinking. I bet a bunch of people have asked like, oh, what are you going to do now? And your answer was like, I'm going to go back to training.
Keep
like,
training.
Like there's no, what do you mean? What am I going to go to Disneyland? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
What am I going to do? I'm going to keep
What do I
training.
do?
Like,
Yeah. I'm going to keep getting choked out and beat up by other people.
I'm going to stop. I'm
Yeah.
going to stop. I'm a master now.
I've succeeded.
I can't be touched. I've arrived. And so I'm just going to stop.
Yeah.
But we do that, you know, we're joking about it in this context, but a lot of people do that actually.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of it too. You know, we rest on our laurels and we ride other people's coattails, or we sit around too long after we've accomplished something great. And we're like, oh, we're awesome. And then you realize 3 years down the road, oh, wait, I haven't really been doing anything for the past 3 years. I actually call it the accordion effect. So here's what a lot of guys will do. And I learned this in my financial planning practice about what I do is, if my back's against the wall, I'm a pretty good scrapper. Like I'll fight through it. Right. So in my financial planning practice, if I was getting low on money or clients, or like I would bust my ass just trying to like drum up business and get referrals, and it would work. Surprise, surprise, you know, it'd work. You put in the effort and it works. And so you start to build up new clients, then business gets closed and you get a payday and you hit it big and you're like, oh, sweet, this is awesome. And then what do? As the accordion, you kind of let off, right? You're like, okay, just take it easy now. You're good. But the problem in the financial planning world, and this is a principle broadly, is that it takes anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks from the time I meet a prospective client to the time, or even maybe longer, to the time I actually get paid for doing business. Totally. So what would happen is I would do really well, and I'd be riding on my, laurels for 2 or 3 months. And then I would realize, oh crap, like I don't have anything in the pipeline. And so then you press on the accordion, but it takes 3 months to start building up again. And so my whole life was just contraction, expansion, contraction, expansion, contraction, expansion. And I think a lot of people do this. So what I've learned, it's kind of like cruise control. When you're driving down the freeway, you always know that asshole who doesn't either A, have cruise control, which can't be possible if his vehicle was made after, 1995 or something.
Or you think their cruise control is broken. Like I wonder how.
No, nobody ever thinks that.
I've always wondered this as well.
Okay. No, it's not broken. They're just dumbass and they don't know how to use cruise control. And so what do? Accelerate, decelerate, accelerate, decelerate. And they only accelerate.
Meanwhile, you're just going.
You have an opportunity 85. To pass them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just so in life, it's better to set the cruise control. And I don't mean coast, take it easy. That's not what I'm saying. It's better to find a pace that you can maintain forever. It's like zone 2 training. If you guys aren't familiar with zone 2 training, it's like Rich Roll talks about this. A lot of healthy people talk about it. So I'm looking into it more. It's the pace that is going to push you. It's not comfortable. It's going to push you, but you do it for a very, very, very long. It's sustainable over long periods of time. Yeah. That's what more people need to do in their life. Be in zone 2. Don't be in 4 and 0. Yeah. Then bounce back and forth between those. Be in zone 2 forever.
Yeah. Yeah. When I've worked out with James, like on some Jim Jones stuff, it's like, it's not about, he used to use this analogy of, you can burn out and do 15 push-ups and then be done, or pull-ups, or you could do 2, pause, and go all forever. Day. And you will grow, you'll get stronger that way than just like a quick burnout, and I could relate so much from my early days of consulting, because it was the same thing. I'd be like, cash, check comes in. I'm like, woohoo, and you're like, honey, we're doing, we're living large. Right. Before you know it, you're like, oh shit, no cells in the pipeline.
Beans and rice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Yep. So hot and cold.
It's very immature is what it is. And you just learn it as you get older. What you do is you get older from my perspective, and I'm not old, but I'm getting older, is you just learn how to conserve energy. Even in JiuJitsu, I'll train with some young guys and I kind of laugh because they're like, ah! Yeah. And I'm like, all I have to do is sit here and just let this guy, like, he's like trying to choke and it's not going to submit me. And he's like, and he's like burning himself out. And I'm like, just let me know when you're done so we can move on here, And so, but that's the strength of, and the wisdom of the gray in our hair, So
yeah. And we see this in the IC, so like just to add a little extra value for guys listening. It's like, we have battle plans. To learn more about the battle, you can sign up for Battle Ready, orderman.com/battle ready. But our battle plan is our goal system, right? If you want to use that term of how we are effective men. And we see this, some guys join the IC, they're pumped up, they're motivated, their battle plans look like, holy shit, and then it's like 4 weeks in, they're just like, I'm done, I'm out.
Totally, they're fried,
burnt out, they're fried, and it goes back to your point, it's that steady pace is where success is.
I saw a post the other day, I got an email, and I think I said this maybe before, but the email was like, here's 250 books to read in 2022. I'm like,
I see those all the time. I actually
what are you talking
save them
about?
so I could read the books, but look at the book titles, but I'm like, I have a hard time like just being effective with the handful of books that we read, I don't know.
Oh, me too. Here's what I would say. Here's the 5 or 6 books you should read this year.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Anyways.
All right.
Well,
Jordan.
the other thing one other lesson in that. So let's say you scale back your intensity, we'll call it. And instead you decide to be more focused and deliberate on fewer things. So you're not like as intense, but you're maintaining that. Let's just take books as the example. if you have a list of 250 books to read, you're going to read a lot of crappy books. If you say to yourself, I'm only choosing 5 this year, you're going to pick the best 5. And the other thing you're going to do is you're going to pick up a book. And I've got this one right here. So we'll use this. This is my book. So this is not going to happen with my book, but let's just hypothetically say is you open it up and you read the first like 10 pages and you're like, this book sucks, but you feel like you have to power through it. Well, if you only give yourself 5 or 6 books in the year, you're going to put this one down, which is okay. Like if you've picked up a book and you don't like it, it would be like listening to a song. You remember when we were kids and we had tracks, tapes, and you had to listen to all of it? Like the whole thing had to be good because everybody has to listen to the entire thing. Now you can just buy one song at a time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you force yourself to focus on only the most productive work, you're going to eliminate the stuff that's not. So you're going to get through 10 pages of a book, or you're going to listen to that song. You're like, I don't like that song. Yeah, you would change the channel, but we don't do that with books. A lot of people don't necessarily do that with podcasts, but it's going to force you to put it down and focus on the action that's going to yield the biggest result. So there you go.
There you go. Jordan Caldwell. Ryan, if you started over a new business venture, completely indulged in it, what do you think you would find yourself doing? It's kind of a fun question, actually. That's why I left.
I'm not a fun guy, though. That's the problem.
Oh, come on.
Because I hear it and I'm like, I would just do this again. I would just start this. Look, if I was going to do like some sort of off the wall, like dream sort of, it's so weird. I have a really hard time with these questions. I'm such a practical person that like, it's really hard. I don't dream about doing anything else, guys. Like you need to know that. Like, because, well, here's another thing. Like if you could do anything in the world, what would you do? Well, you can, and I am. Like I'm doing what I want to do.
Hypothetical question.
That's what I'm saying. My practice. I don't even know. Cause what would I do? An astronaut? Maybe. I think that'd be kind of cool. Like, that would be a cool thing. I think
he's being a little bit more practical than that, right? I mean, like I could totally see you going into like doing some like outdoor hunting brand of some sort or something. No.
Like I'm doing what I want to do. Like that's why it's so hard for me. Like, maybe some sort of hunting thing. I do think being able to train jiu-jitsu all day would actually be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I would actually be awesome at that. Maybe not necessarily the technical side of it, but running a jiu-jitsu school, dude, I would destroy because I know how to market.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't get, not just in jiu-jitsu, but in life. They think, well, if I'm good at it, then I'll have a great dojo or studio or academy or whatever. No, not necessarily. Like
you get to be an amazing teacher and shit show.
So I think that would actually be really cool. Like I would like, I could see myself running a school. Where I'd actually like to focus is on kids more than anything. And if people like, I would do parents and kids and that's it. Like if you weren't a parent or a child, I'd be like, no, we specifically focus on dads with their children, dads with their sons and daughters, and moms with their sons and daughters. Like that's it. That's exclusively what we do. Yeah. And if you're like a single person who's like, we'll go get married and then you can join our school, have a kid and then you can join our school.
Yeah. And a powerful impact, right? From that perspective. Totally. Yeah. Have you read Mind Over Muscle yet?
No, I haven't read it.
That's the book that's,
I don't even think I've heard it.
The origins of the Judokan of really how judo originated.
Oh no. Mind Over Muscle. Cool. I'll check it out.
Mind Over Muscle. One of my favorite things about that book is his philosophy was it was a school of philosophy of life. It wasn't martial arts.
Right. That's
cool. And I love that. Like and maybe this is just me nerding out and I don't even know if it would ever be practical. Like people would quit like after a couple of days or not, but how powerful could jiu-jitsu be if the instruction and the coaching was geared around the philosophy and the relationship and the lessons we learn in real life from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we all
Totally.
learn them, but it's like after the fact and you figure it out on your own. It's not part of the instruction. It's not, you know what I mean? It's almost like this natural byproduct that just happens for, and to be honest, I don't think it happens for everybody. I think some guys are still like, jiu-jitsu is fun, right? And they're not making the correlation of life out of it. Right. But having that conversation more prominent as part of the teaching process, I think would be just so awesome. But
yeah. So do you know who Jason Wilson is? He was on the podcast several months ago. He's a martial artist. He runs a program. I believe it's called Cave of Adullam. Or Adullam or Adullam is how, I don't know. It's a reference to the Bible. And admittedly, like that, I'm not the person to be referencing the Bible because I'm not up to speed as much as other people. Anyways, he trains young men in the Detroit area, but he takes them through, if I remember correctly, it's a 12-week
I know who you're talking about.
Course. He just wrote a book called Cry Like a Man. And that's why
him on the podcast. I totally know who you're talking about. We're talking about him at Uncaged a little bit.
Right. Yeah. So, he's an incredible person, and he's doing exactly what you're saying for those young men in his community. And I just can't respect that guy more. I mean,
he had the video that went viral with the boy that couldn't break the board. Right. And they're really setting a precedent.
He's had a bunch of videos go viral just because of the powerful nature of what he's doing.
Yeah. Totally stud. All right. George Morris III, as a father with 3 teenage girls who have been abused by their mother, I now have full custody. How do I approach not quote unquote fixing them or not fixing everything? I went through my own abuse and suicidal thoughts and overcame it all. I can't seem to get them to be okay.
Well, look, I mean, think about the conflicting nature of your question. How do I not solve everything? And then next is you're like, I just can't get them to be okay. Like that's a conflict. There's a lot of conflict in those two thoughts. Because on one hand, which I commend, is you want to save and serve your girls. Of course. Great. I love it. And I commend you for wanting to do that. And on the other end, you're trying to exert your will into them. And that's going to create some real contention. In fact, the harder you go, the more friction and potentially the wedge, and that even maybe driving them away at some point in the future.
And it doesn't help that you just got full custody either. So things have been shifted. There's a shift, there's change. And now you're showing up this way, right? Is even more difficult. Yeah.
The challenge with questions like this is I can't tell you if you do A, B, and C, then D will happen in the next 60 days. And that's what a lot of men are looking for. They're looking for a formula. You know, if guys do this in the gym or trying to lose weight, you know, if you do this for 90 days, then you're going to lose, 30 pounds, right? That's the formula. And so we take that same approach and we put it into the dynamics of relationships and people, baggage that people are going through and their own personalities and their own experiences. And it doesn't happen the way that we want it to. And that's frustrating. And the other challenge is that if you do something that is in their best interest, you may not see the result immediately. Like you're not going to see an instantaneous change. In fact, it may be that they really don't realize that specific conversation or that specific thing that you did for 2 or 3 decades down the road. So you have to look at it and think, okay, I'm not going to do this and expect an immediate outcome. I'm going to do this with a long-term focus of what is going to be in their best interest. I would say therapy is something that the girls definitely ought to participate in, because you don't know what you're doing. And a therapist is going to have more tools and resources at their disposal to be able to do that. And then what I would do is I would ask a lot of questions of the therapist, not me. Like, thank you for asking us, but I don't feel qualified to answer that question. So I would find a great therapist, get the girls into therapy, and then you go to therapy too, independently from the girls for yourself, but also so you can ask that therapist what you can be doing as a father to help them navigate this really strange time for your daughters right now.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I can give you good information outside of that. I just don't, I don't feel right about it. I don't know. Okay, good.
I can't
go.
No, well, I'll just share something that I learned probably, or Asia and I have learned over the last 2 years. And I think it's safe to say that one of the things that you want your daughters to understand is that they're good enough. Without a doubt, I almost guarantee it, that's how they feel, that they're not good enough. And so, and that's why this is such an important conversation, and counseling is so critical. Is why when we try to fix people, what's the translation, Ryan? If I come to you and say, hey, Ryan,
you're broken.
Let me give you all these things that are wrong with you, then you're not good enough. Right. So that's why this is so you have to be so careful. One of the books that I think is profound in this area of like empathy and relationship and being in a position to provide guidance and direction is the books by the Harbinger Group. There's The Anatomy of Peace. What's the leadership book? Like Leadership Deception. And then there's like Outward Mindset, which is the other book. All three books really teach the same principle. And one of those principles is the what they call like the relationship pyramid. And you can't, before we're in a position to correct someone, you start at the bottom of the pyramid, and correction is at the very top. And first, you need to, one, build relationships with people that already have influence. So what people in their life have influence over them, right? And have a relationship with them. Then build your relationship with them even stronger. To your point, Ryan, listen and learn. A lot of listening and learning. Opportunities to teach, and then correct. You jump to correct without established influence, it's going to come across as I'm not good enough and you're just trying to fix me. And that is the opposite of probably what they want to hear.
Well, and the opposite of what you're trying to create for them.
Correct. Yeah. Better said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck, George. That's tough, man.
Yeah, it is. I don't want to say good luck. I don't like that phrasing. Okay. Like I know you're saying that with good intentions. I just think like it's not luck, George. Like you go out and you do, like I'd prefer to, and maybe it's semantics, but I would prefer to say,
I like this,
like best wishes. Like I wish the best for you. I want the best for you. And that requires you to go do the work. Like not good luck, like good luck, it can't happen, but
it's going to need luck to pull it off. Yeah.
Right. Best wishes to you. You're on an important path. So go do the important work that will help your daughters.
Yeah. I like that. I like that distinction. I'm going to try to do that more often, actually.
It's weird. That's a little pet peeve. Like I don't ever say good luck to anybody anymore. Like I always say, whenever that opportunity or that situation, it's always, hey, best wishes or wishing the best for you.
Yeah.
But it's never, and again, that's a weird little kink.
No. Well, it's funny because like I've caught myself not saying good luck when guys are like, I'm off to Worlds to compete. And my first instinct is to say good luck. And I'm like, no, this ain't luck. And so then I'm like, I say like war.
Yes.
Or something else,
Exactly.
Yeah. It's kind of the same idea because I don't want to discredit what he's done. And it's not going to be luck that is going to determine success. So why would I say that? Right.
Right. I mean, even something I've said is I know you can do it, or I have faith in you, or I'm rooting for you, or, like something along those lines.
Yeah.
Anyways.
All right. Tim Fridsma, do you have any tips or techniques for avoiding beard loss during jiu-jitsu? I took several months off for an injury and now have a beard of 4 or 5 inches long. First class back this morning. I found myself constantly shifting my face because my beard was getting pinched and pulled.
Yeah. You're going to lose your beard, whether you do it preemptively on your own terms or somebody else's terms. Why do you think my beard is shorter than it was, 2 or 3 years ago? Because of jujitsu. And every time I'd leave, I'd have 10% less hair. So I did ask Josh Tyler about this weekend, because he's been training for, I think, 15 years or so. And he's got a big red beard, big gnarly beard. And I'm like, what? So like, do you tie up your beard? What do you do when you train? And he's like, no, he's like, the beard hairs that get pulled are just the weak ones that don't belong in my beard anyways.
Here's the closing statement. So the closing statement is there are things in life by which the jiu-jitsu gods will teach you whether you're willing to accept or not.
Oh,
so
sure.
You can make the decision, or the jiu-jitsu gods will make the decision for you. Beard length is one of them.
There's not even a decision to be made. Like, it's going to happen. The only question is, how are you going to go into the bathroom and trim it down? Look, Kib, you and I have similar beard lengths. Mine might be slightly longer, right?
Yeah.
But
longer.
like, it's gonna happen. Like, I don't know if, and look, admittedly, I don't follow jiu-jitsu too closely within like the competitive circles. I can't you correct me if I'm wrong. I can't think of any high level jiu-jitsu players that have a big old nasty gnarly beard. What does that tell you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, you know, I think you could potentially braid it up, tie it up, or whatever. 4 or 5 inches, probably not too long to be able to do that.
Yeah. So that way people can get a better grip on it, you know, kind of get it into a rope.
Yeah. And just pull on, yank on it. The only other thing I'd say is just maintain top control. And I guess that's less likely to have somebody yanking on your beard. I mean, that's, if you're anything like me, you're not going to be on the top very, very long. So you better get used to being underneath somebody else trying to kill you. So I don't know. That's my suggestion.
All right. Eric Kovac, questions for both Ryan and Kip. If for some weird reason Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu did not exist in the world, what martial art would you two train instead?
See,
wouldn't the world
this is another question. Like, this is another question, like hypothetical. It's like, I don't even have to think about that because it isn't life. Like, this is what it is. This is actually why I'm not super philosophical, because I just don't get like stuck in my thoughts. Like, I'm like, okay, go here. It's like that. I told you,
getting shit done.
No, it's like I calculate things to formulate a conclusion so I can do work. Like, that's why I think about things. I don't think about them to just like stick around forever.
Consider.
Like, it's a linear path. It's not, it's like, okay, this is the problem. Here's a couple options based on what I know. Here's what I think I should do. Go. It's linear. Philosophy is like, you bounce around in your brain and, well, what if this? And what if, okay, well, what conclusion do you come to? I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. Okay. Well, like,
no conclusion, just thought. Yeah.
Right. All right. So if jiu-jitsu is not around, I think I'd wrestle, actually.
Yeah. That's the practical right answer for me. Like, if I think about it, I'm like, the right answer would be to wrestle. My first thought was Sambo, but that's like a cheating answer, because I think Sambo originated in the early 1900s from a guy that went to Japan and learned judo and jiu-jitsu. So like, that doesn't really count, you know? And Muay Thai, what is it? Is it more
throwing, or what is, I don't know Sambo. Is it striking and throwing, Sambo, or what is it?
Yes. Sambo is the martial art in Russia where the guy wears a red gi and the other guys wears blue, but they wear shorts, and they'll do judo throws, submissions, wrestling. It's a sort of
mixed. Yeah. They strike. They're striking.
I think there is striking in Sambo. Yeah. But there's
like
tons of judo throws and jiu-jitsu too. So it's like, you know, that's cheating.
Yeah. You can't say you can't say judo. Like, you have to pick something completely different.
Muay Thai. I love Muay Thai. I've done some Muay Thai. I think, you know, that'd be on my list, but
what's the difference between Muay Thai and kickboxing?
That's a really good point. So Muay Thai is really focused on 6 points of contact, right? So elbow strikes and a lot of heavy knees, right? Kickboxing, I don't even think a clinch exists in kickboxing, right? And I don't think kickboxing does like elbow strikes. I'm not a kickboxer kind of guy, so I don't know. But Muay Thai is, you know, you typically see guys dancing in elbows and knees. The clinch is a Muay Thai thing. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Really brutal, a lot of cuts, you know, because of the elbows.
I mean, I think Muay Thai or kickboxing, I think that's a good answer. I don't think you can be in that game as long as you can with something like jiu-jitsu or wrestling. But I think that's a good answer. Like knowing how to strike and using your weapons, your elbows, your hands, your knees, your feet.
So you don't break your hands either, man. Elbows,
but also learning how to block and protect yourself against strikes. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, dude. If you ever have a chance to go to Thailand, I went out there to compete in a jiu-jitsu tournament in Tokyo, and we actually swung by Thailand. Went to just some traditional Thai fights in Bangkok.
Awesome.
So awesome. So awesome. Yeah.
There's a couple of guys I follow on Instagram that do, I think they're doing Muay Thai because there's knees and stuff. And I'm like, dang, this is legit. Is crazy.
That is their country's sport.
That's their sport.
Muay Thai. Yeah.
Oh, like so like we're not talking like football or soccer. Like, no, it's Muay Thai.
It is Thailand's
That's
sport
cool.
Is Muay Thai. Yeah. They take it very, very serious. Yeah. It's like awesome.
All right. Mitchell, he's a kickboxer, I think. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
That's his background. I don't think it's Muay Thai. I'm pretty sure it's kickboxing. So that's his background. All right. Next question.
All right, Mitchell Burton, what are some writing tips you have, journaling advice, and how important do you think journaling is for manifesting thoughts into action?
Actually, I think journaling is good because yes, it will help manifest thoughts into action because you're putting it on paper. And again, it's more linear. Yeah. Writing is more linear versus thinking, which is more circular. It can get stuck up there at times. But when you write it or speak it, you start to put it into action. It lines it out. So that's why I like
clarity
writing.
Of thought. Would you say?
Totally. Yeah. Because you'll write something like, okay, I could say something in this podcast and it could be utter bullshit and I won't give it a second thought. Okay. But if I write it and I look at it, I'm like, well, hold on a second. like I've caught myself doing that. Like I'll write something. I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know if I believe that actually. Like, I don't know if that's right. And then you actually are forced to examine it from a different perspective, not just emotionally or just your belief system. Like you're actually forced to examine it. And so when I wrote Sovereignty, there was a lot of things in there that I wrote. And I'm like, no, I don't actually believe that. I've been talking about it for 3 or 4 years at the time. I'm like, I actually don't think that's right. And I did the same thing on this book. So I addressed the concept of toxic masculinity a little bit. And I'm openly critical about the term toxic masculinity. But in the book, I actually give a different perspective that I'm a little nervous about putting out because of some things that I've said in the past and the way that it is generally accepted in this space and community that I think challenges that a little bit. But I don't know that I would have examined it that closely if I didn't write it in a book that other people were going to read. So, because then you have to examine it because you're like, this is going to be out there. Like I have to, like, is this right? And so you have to look at it. There's another, I don't journal admittedly a whole lot. Occasionally I do, but there is one tactic when I was journaling more that I really liked. And I always wrote it with the idea that my kids were going to read it in 30 years. And so it became very instructional based on what I had learned throughout the day or the week, however often you journal. Now I have had some people say, well, that's not good because then you're going to manipulate and massage it knowing that your kids are going to read it. Yes, that's a good point. You know, you might be tempted to make yourself out to be better or cooler or stronger or braver than maybe you really are. But I still think it's a good way to flesh out some ideas that you wouldn't have considered otherwise.
Yeah. Well, and everyone journals for different reasons, right? I mean, the only reason why I ever journal, I used to think this idea that my journal was like some golden plates of record that would be used in some future time. Yeah. And I had to document everything and it became this chore. And then I would avoid it because it's too hard. And then the best journaling I've ever done is just, I write down one thing that I'm grateful for. That's it. And it forces me to pause and like really look at life and evaluate, you know what I mean? And express appreciation. That's it. And I like that. That's its intent. Let me ask you this, Ryan. So do you think you writing has helped you articulate thought process in interviews on podcasts and conversations and to be able to do that better as well?
Maybe in the in the podcast where I speak, like a Friday Field Notes, for example.
Yeah.
Well, a great example of that is last week. The Friday Field Notes was titled "Have Some Self-Respect." Well, that's a chapter from the book.
Yeah.
And so I took excerpts from that book and then broke it down and kind of looked at it and figured out, okay, well, how would this make a good, 15 to 30 minute Friday Field Notes? So yeah, it's definitely helped me articulate that. Now, as far as doing interviews, the single greatest thing I've done to improve my ability to communicate effectively in an interview style format is just to be curious.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, yeah. I guess what I'm asking for is more on your ability to articulate intelligently, not just, you know what I mean, feel connected to who you're interviewing, but you do a great job explaining your thoughts, and you do it in a very professional way. And does journaling play a part in that? Or no?
Yes, 100%. People that read, people that write, I would even go so far as to say, and I don't know if this is right, but anecdotally, at least in my mind, it seems like it would be people who know other languages, or maybe even sign language. I just think the people who study communication in all of its forms, audio, visual, written, whatever, song, art, the people that study communication are going to, yes, of course, they're going to be better communicators. Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
And if you speak English and you know how to speak French or Spanish or Italian, you're going to be able to explain things. And you know who's really good at this? Comedians. They take a very common situation that everybody has been through, and they make it funny because they see it in a different way, and they say it differently than the way that a normal person would say it. And so it's funny because we've all been through that situation, whatever. We can all relate. Agree.
Yeah.
But we never looked at it like that before. And that's what makes it funny. Comedians.
It's
with Brian Callen. I cannot even begin to describe how many messages I got from people who said, I had no idea Brian was that well-versed. I had no idea Brian was that intelligent. I had no idea he was that well-read. Frankly, neither did I, but it makes sense to me. He's got to know all of this stuff and look at it from different perspectives to share something everybody's experienced, but in a different way to make it relevant and funny.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a mastery of understanding and communication that allows him to make it funny.
Yeah. Exactly. And even if you gave Brian Callen a script, you wrote a joke out, you said, here's the script, I want you to perform this. And then you gave it to me and it was the same script, it would be funnier coming from him because it's not just words, it's timing, it's tempo, it's the way your voice sounds, it's the way that you look, it's the way how you command presence. Like there's so much. And in order to do that effectively, you just need to know how to communicate on so many different levels and layers.
All right. Levy David, similar question, or in the I guess in the same area of what we're talking about here. What is your process in preparation for upcoming episodes and interviews? How long are your notes?
My notes are blank. Like I have no notes anymore. I used to have pre-scripted questions and I would.
Yeah. But you usually kind of read up on them.
Oh yeah.
Get the latest episodes, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I usually will. So what I'll do is if they have a book out, I'll read their latest book, or I've been listening because I can listen on Audible at 2 times the speed, so I can get through more information. And then I usually subscribe to their emails because I might get an email a day or 2 before the thing on a particular subject. I follow their Instagram accounts and their Twitter and Facebook accounts so that I can stay up to date. If I see something they may have said that is controversial or has gotten a lot of attention, that's going to make some great fodder for the conversation. But usually the people that I interview are people that I know, that I'm familiar with. So, and I also think that over planning takes away some of the authenticity, the genuineness of the conversation, because you're trying to manipulate the conversation. Like, I would never do that if I was going to hang out with a buddy. Like, if you and I are going to go to like you're talking about fight night, and you're like, hey Ryan, come over to fight night, and I brought with me a list of notes, like, and then I got it out and
an
I was
agenda.
like, so
yeah, I'm going to do this.
so
And
Kip,
then
how is your wife? What's her name? Oh, how is your wife Asia?
yeah, you're like,
You know,
dick. Get out of here. You don't even know my wife's name. Yeah.
Right.
It's forced. Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense. And then, but we think it's acceptable in a conversation that's like a podcast. No, I don't think so. I don't think it is. It's very amateur. And I used to be an amateur, which is why I did it. And now I'm not. I'm a professional. So I don't do it. I do what professionals do. And that's why I said earlier that curiosity is the biggest key. Like, just be curious. I could know nothing. Okay, here's how I would say it. Let's say that I needed a podcast guest, and because I didn't have something scheduled, and I said, Kip, I need a podcast guest. Who do you got? And you're like, hey, talk to John Stevenson here. I could have a great conversation with John and not know a single thing about him. Nothing. Yeah. Because I'm good at asking questions. And that's all it takes. Because I'm curious. Like, I want to know what makes John tick. Where's he from? What's he do for work? Why does he do that? Why does he do that thing that way? Where did he learn that? Who taught him? Who does he teach? Like, there's so many great questions when you're curious. You don't even have to think about them. You just, they say something and you just ask the next question because it's like natural. Like, it's just, that's the next question, of course, obviously, but it does take time and practice for sure.
Garrett Brock, in my career, just as many others, I often struggle with feeling as though I'm not valued as a person, but rather viewed as a name and a number on a page by both supervisor and society. This affects my motivation to be as proactive as possible from time to time. I realize that the best way to fix this issue is to play the game and
that's not
promote to a level, promote to a level where I can make a positive change for others around me. Do you have any advice or tips on effectively playing the game in order to make this enhancement for others?
I can answer that question, but I'm going to answer a better question that you didn't ask, because you assumed that playing the game was the way that's going to make you feel better. But let's just play this out for a second. You quote unquote play the game and you secure a couple of promotions over the next 10 years. And now you're in a position of authority and you have a team to manage, and you're working directly under maybe the owner of the company or something. Yeah. Are you going to feel different? No, you're not. Yeah. You're still going to feel unappreciated. You're still going to feel undervalued. You're still going to feel like you didn't get the attention or notoriety or accolades that you deserved. It's not the external that's going to change this for you. It's the internal. So the first thing you need to do is you need to go back to Friday and you need to listen to the podcast, Have Some Self-Respect, because that's where it starts. The level of respect that you will gain and garner from other people is a direct correlation to the respect that you have for yourself. And you're feeling like you're not adequate or not worthy or not getting the attention or notoriety you deserve because you don't know how to foster it for yourself. Like, Kip, I don't need you to tell me I'm a good husband. I don't need you to say you're a great father. I like those things. I'll accept the compliment. It's encouraging to me. It's positive, but I don't need it to know that. I know that because I'm doing the work of a good husband. I'm doing the work of a good father. I'm engaged. I'm trying to improve myself. I'm on the path and I know how to validate myself. I don't need anybody else to do it for me. And when you get to that point, all of that stuff becomes irrelevant. And you know what? Ironically enough, and kind of unfortunately, is that when you don't care or don't need the validation of others, that's when they give it to you.
Yeah.
Because you're not desperate. You're not clinging on to their every hope and desire and whim and word and nod of approval. You're doing it for yourself. And because you're doing it for yourself, people see it and they're like, oh, there's something special about that guy. And then they're drawn to you and they give you validation and accolades and praise and notoriety and all these things that you want, not because you want it, but because you don't need it. It's like a cruel twist of fate. You want it so bad and they won't give it to you. And when you learn to not need it is when you'll actually get it. It's so strange. I wish it wasn't like that, but it is. So work on yourself and ask yourself why you feel badly about who you are. It's not about what they think. I want you to figure out why you can't validate yourself and why you feel like the way to success is getting it from other people. And I'm not saying that as a rhetorical question or exercise. I actually want you to do that. And then once you figure it out, maybe let me give you a couple of examples of what it might mean. Maybe you're a little heavier than you'd like to be. Maybe you yell at and you're impatient with your children. Maybe you know deep down inside you're actually not doing the work you should be doing at work to secure the promotion.
Out of integrity.
Maybe there's some things that you've done that you have not yet made amends for. Maybe there's some people that you've wronged that you need to say sorry to. Maybe somebody has wronged you and they apologized and you didn't accept it, or at least give them the opportunity to say sorry. There's 1,000, maybe you cheated on your wife and that guilt is hanging over your head and you think you're a loser. Okay. Like there's 1,000 things it could be. Figure it out and then make it right. I was doing a little research the other day and I came across the word atonement. And usually when we think of the word atonement, we think of it in a spiritual context, like Christ atoned for the sins of the world, right? Well, atonement isn't necessarily a spiritual word. All it means is to repair, if I remember, to repair. So reparations, to repair, to fix, to make it right. So to atone is to repair damage that has been done. So you need to atone for what you have done to others and to yourself. How do you repair the damage that you've done to your body by drinking? Well, you stop drinking and you get healthy. How do you atone for cheating on your wife? First, you stop the behavior and then you have to make it right with her, which is scary because there's some real risk in that, right? How do you how do you atone for somebody that you've wronged at work? Maybe you threw somebody under the bus. You make it right by apologizing to that person, not the mob, by the way, that's a different conversation, but to that person. And then you make it right by going and talking with whoever needs to have a conversation with so that they know it was actually that person who did the good work and not you. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago, I think. You need to atone. There's something going on and you need to atone for that. And when you do, you're going to feel better about yourself, of course. And then you'll need less validation from others. Very long answer, but that's how you do it. How do you play the game? The game's easy. Here's the game. You ready for the game? At work, help people win. You know, when you get out a new game, you bust out this new board game and you get the rule book out and you're like, okay, step 1, setup. Step 2, number of players. Step 3, what is the objective of the game? The objective of the game is to help other people win. That's it. So at work, when your boss is an asshole, it doesn't say help him win if he's a good guy. The objective is to help him win. With your clients, the objective is to help them win. With the company you're working. Look, and here's another thing. If you're not interested in playing the game, or at least finishing the objective, then don't play the game. So if you're at employment that you hate, you despise it, you've got a boss who's a complete jerk and he doesn't appreciate you, okay, then you need to make a decision, because right now you're playing the game and the objective is to help him win. If you can't do that, don't play that game. There's games I don't like my wife, different one. She won't play Risk with me. Probably because I'm a jerk when I do. But she chooses not to play the game because she doesn't like the game. Okay, she's opted out. Fine. Right? Same thing with that. Either you're in and you do it, or you've opted out, but you don't get to like dabble your toes in the water and be part of the game if you're not willing to complete the objective. And you know, when you do this, everything is better. Everything is better. The relationship between you and your boss will get better. People will appreciate you more. They'll be glad to see you. You're going to feel better about yourself. Yeah. It's just better. You're going to be more marketable. You're going to have other job offers. Clients are going to see what you're doing, and some opportunity may present itself where they come to you and say, what was his name? This guy?
Uh,
Did you close it?
I got it. Garrett.
So a client comes to you, Garrett, and says, hey, you know what? I own this organization. We're a Fortune 500 company. And I want to let you know, I've been watching you for the past couple of years, the way that you do business here, the way you handle yourself, the way you conduct your business, the way you help your team, the way you service your clients. And we have an executive level position opened up. And I really want to talk to you more about it. Like, some people might hear that and think that's far-fetched. That's happened to me multiple times where I've done the work I'm supposed to be doing, and opportunities like that have presented themselves because of it. That's how you play the game.
Yeah. Cool. One more question.
All right. One more. Yep.
All right. Jesse Clock. First of all, my name is pronounced Clock, Kip. Haha. All right. Whatever, Jesse.
Clock. Is it spelled clock?
No, it's spelled Klok.
Yeah. Well, spell it right, man.
I would have gotten it right. My question is this. In Canada, we have had the truckers convoy going on for the last week because of our lack of leadership in our country. I've gone down to the Coots border blockage to support the truckers there. I've called my government reps and not getting much in communication. What would you guys do to lead in this situation?
What would we do to lead? Well, I think ultimately you would.
I'm assuming what he's asking to do more than what he's doing, right?
Yeah. What I would do is I would enlist more people in it. That's how you lead. You rally more people around the cause. You get more people engaged. The more people that are engaged, the more people who are committed, the more likely it is that you're going to start gaining traction, getting attention, getting noticed. And also, I think I saw this morning in Ottawa that either they have or they're considering making it a state of emergency or something like that in Ottawa, so that they can bring in federal authorities to start cracking down on some of this stuff. So it's dangerous, man. It's really dangerous, and that's why a lot of people won't do this. But the more people who do it, the more likely it is you're going to start seeing some change. So the way you lead is do what you want to do what you feel compelled to do. And then enlist other people to help you do it. That's how you lead. That is the definition of leadership. So,
yeah, cool. All right. So we mentioned a couple things. Battle Ready. To learn more about Battle Ready, go to orderman.com/battle ready. Also, you can get the battle planning app at 12weekbattleplanner.com. That's the number 12 or 12weekbattleplanner.com. Iron Council is closed. We will be opening that up for new members coming in the month of March. So stay tuned. Follow Mr. Mickler on Twitter and Instagram for updates at Ryan Mickler, as well as signing up for the newsletter on the orderofman.com website. Anything else, sir?
No, I think that's it. With the Iron Council being closed and this being the beginning of February, we have about 3 weeks at this point. What I would suggest to you guys to get ready for joining the Iron Council, and I know there's hundreds of you who want to, is to go through the Battle Ready course now. So you talked about it, Kip. So I want to reiterate that orderofman.com/battle ready. You're going to go through that over 30 days. And when we open up on March 1st, you're going to hit the ground running, and you're going to know a lot more than the guys who don't go through that program and sign up for the Iron Council. So that's a free program. It's orderofman.com/battle ready. Just wanted to reiterate that. All right, guys, excellent. That's all we've got. Great questions today. I really feel like we had some good questions. Hopefully we had some good answers for you. We will be back on Friday. Until then, go out there, take action, and become the man you are meant to be.